Hi everyone and welcome to another video. In this video, I want to talk about attachment issues, and this topic was actually suggested to me. So let's first talk about what are attachment issues. Attachment issues are insecure attachment styles that we usually form early on in life from our parents or people that are close to us, people that raised us, your caregivers. But they can also be developed later on in life through traumatic experiences or toxic relationships. So there are three insecure attachment styles. We have anxious attachment style, where the person fears abandonment and rejection, so they constantly seek reassurance from another person, and they question everything they do, everything they say, because they take everything very close to their heart and they think that everything is an attack on them, and that's because they don't feel good enough, because they're so scared of this other person leaving them. Then we have avoidant attachment style, which is kind of the opposite, where the person doesn't feel safe depending on others. They don't feel safe opening up to another person, so they tend to pull away when she gets serious, and they distance themselves from other people emotionally. And then there is this organized attachment style, which is a mix of both anxious and avoidant attachment styles. So when someone, at one hand, they seek closeness, but on the other hand, they're scared of it. So there's this push and pull in the relationship. So let's talk about how attachment issues are developed, and I will also be talking about my own personal experience with this. As I've mentioned, attachment issues usually develop early on in life because children learn from example. So you grow up and you watch your parents or people that are close to you, family that raised you, and you learn things about the world and things about relationships between people, and what you learn becomes your normal. So if you grew up with inconsistent parents, so sometimes they were loving, sometimes they were coming off as cold, if you grew up experiencing traumatic childhood, if you could never confide in your parents because you didn't feel safe, because you could never predict how they would react, so you would often feel overwhelmed and you didn't feel safe opening up to your parents about things that were going on in your life, about your feelings. There was no safety, there was no stability, so you grew up believing that love is dangerous. Opening up to someone is dangerous. Love is inconsistent, or love needs to be earned. And you grow up and you carry those beliefs into your adulthood. So you believe that that is true about all the relationships. That is normal because it was normal to you. It was normal in your household. And you, when you are a child, you don't know anything better because you live in this household with those people. And you think that is how it's supposed to be. And then you grow up and you go out into the world. You go to school, you meet other people, you get into relationships with those people, and you carry those attachment issues that you formed as a child into those relationships. So for example, if growing up you learned that opening up to someone else is dangerous, depending on someone else is dangerous, talking about your feelings is dangerous because your parents weren't there to support you, you get into the relationship and you don't feel safe depending on that person. You don't feel safe confiding in them. So you push them away. You set this emotional distance between the two of you. And you come off as insensitive and cold, and like you're not interested in the relationship, you're not interested in the other person, and usually the relationship doesn't work out. Or another example, growing up your parents' love was inconsistent. So you get into the relationship and you see constant approval and validation because you're so scared of losing this person. You're so scared that they will stop liking you, that they will break up with you. So you come off as clingy and insecure because you see yourself in this negative light because you never feel good enough. You never feel like you are deserving of love. Talking about my own personal experience, growing up I saw my parents fight a lot and eventually they divorced. I was 10 years old at the time. I'm in good relationship with both my parents right now, but I remember the first few years after the divorce, I just felt so angry. I felt so angry at the world, at my parents, at men, and I had a few guy friends at the time that I knew saw me more than a friend, and some of them even asked me out, and I would tell them that I felt the same way even though I wasn't interested in them in that way, but I would still get into the relationship with them only to push them away later on. It never lasted more than a couple of days, so it wasn't anything serious, but I guess it was also an act of spite and revenge from my side. Years later, I got into my first serious relationship. I've never felt this way before him, and months in, I realized that what I was feeling was more than just being simply attracted to this person, and I got scared because I didn't feel safe being close to someone. I didn't feel safe experiencing these emotions because after the divorce, both my parents became unavailable. My mom, she had to work extra hours for me and my little brother, so we rarely saw her, and even when she was physically there, emotionally she was absent. So I learned to rely on myself. So when years later I got into the relationship with this person and we started to get really close, I pushed him away by acting cold because I felt scared, because I didn't feel safe depending on someone else. I didn't feel safe opening up my heart to someone else. I also want to mention that people can display traits from different attachment styles, so there could be a mix of avoidant and anxious attachment styles, like in my case, because growing up I was also taught that love needs to be earned through achievements and good grades. So I grew up constantly seeking validation from other people, and there also comes people pleasing. I really need to make a video about people pleasing because if there wasn't a word for people pleasing, I would absolutely get the first place. Okay, now we do realize we have attachment issues. How do we heal from them? The best practice that you can do to heal from attachment issues is shadow work, because you need to understand the root, the cause of the problem. Where is it coming from? And the shadow work is perfect for that. When you go through a traumatic experience, your brain tends to block the negative memories so you don't have to experience it over and over again. So asking yourself questions and really looking inside and understanding the root of the problem helps identify the cause. And when you identify the cause, it is easier to then work through the issue and heal from it. You can find plenty of questions. Just go to Pinterest and search attachment issues, shadow work, and be 100% honest with yourself. Shadow work is also perfect for identifying and reframing limiting beliefs that you adopted growing up. So common insecure beliefs are: I'm too much, love means pain, I can't rely on anyone but myself, everyone always leaves me. Healing means reframing those beliefs. So when you catch yourself thinking that way, you stop yourself and you basically tell yourself a different story. So you say, healthy people stay. People that are meant for me stay. I am deserving of love because I am. My needs are valid. Being close to someone is safe. Opening up to someone is safe. Attachment insecurity is rooted in dysregulated nervous system. You need to regulate your nervous system. Some of my most favorite practices are deep breathing, meditation, exercising, fixing your sleeping schedule, grounding, walking in nature and listening to the sounds of nature. Again, grounding, being present in the moment. When your body feels safe, your relationships also feel safe. But don't forget that the most important relationship that you will ever have in your life is the relationship you have with yourself. Don't get into another relationship if you haven't yet fixed your attachment issues. Don't rely on someone else to fix them for you. That is not their job. That is your job only. You need to be able to tell yourself, I am enough. I am safe. My life is not over. I will not break. I will not disappear if this person leaves me. And you know that's true because you stop centering your whole world around this one person. You know that at the end of the day, you have yourself. And that is enough. Choose emotionally consistent people. I noticed that when someone has attachment issues, they tend to repeat the same old patterns. I think it's also the universe's way of showing you what still needs to be healed. So, in order to heal, you need to break the cycle. Choose people that you feel safe around. Choose people that don't give you mixed signals. People that don't make you question everything. People that don't trigger your avoidance or anxiety. And when communicating with people, understand that you can learn secure communication. And you do that by expressing your needs and your feelings directly, by setting clear boundaries, by clearing any misunderstandings and not assuming the worst instantly. People that are meant for you, people that appreciate you truly for who you are, those people will always take your side. And those people will support you no matter what. Understand that just because you grew up with those negative beliefs about relationships doesn't mean that you have to live your whole life with those same negative beliefs. You can change your mindset. You can break the pattern. You can break this generational curse. Unfortunately, we cannot choose our family, and unfortunately, we cannot change our past. But we are in full control of the present moment, and we are in full control of how we choose to live the rest of our lives. I hope this video was helpful. I love you, and I will see you next week.